Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get the meeting started. I'm going to call the City of Scottsdale Budget Review Commission special meeting for December 8th, 2025 to order. Can we start with a roll call?
Vice Chair Schweiker.
Here.
Commissioner Carla.
Here.
Commissioner Lettieri.
Here.
Commissioner Newman. Commissioner Stevens.
Here.
Commissioner Badenoch.
Okay, we'll start with public comment. Citizens may address members of the Budget Review Commission during public comment regarding non-agendized items and on the agendized items when the item is presented. Arizona law prohibits the commission from discussing or taking action on an item that is not on the prepared agenda. Citizens may submit one request to speak, a public comment card, per meeting to the city staff. Public testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Written public comment cards can be submitted to city staff at any time for items on the agenda or not agenda items. Cards submitted after the public comment has begun for the item will be provided to the commission at the conclusion of the public comment for that item. Do we have any public comments? Okay. Without that, we will go on to approval of minutes. There's a request for approval of the minutes for the November 18th, 2025 regular commission meeting. Does anyone have any additions or corrections on the minutes? Otherwise, the chair would entertain a motion for approval.
I move.
We have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Motion carries. Item number 2, discussion of focus areas and work of the commission. I'll turn this over to Sonia right now.
Thank you, Chair Schweiker. Thank you, commissioners. So at the last Budget Review Commission meeting, the commission decided to submit, for each of the commission members to submit up to 3 focus areas that the commissioners would like to see the commission work on this year, in addition to reviewing the proposed budget. And in your packet, there is a spreadsheet. Each of the commissioners' submissions are included in your packet, and I kind of summarized them in a spreadsheet that's in your packet to show the different submissions and categorize them into the different main categories. So as you can see, there is the financial health metrics and sustainability, a structural balance, interest in that. There's also capital improvement plan, interest in reviewing certain aspects of our capital improvement plan. There's also interest in looking at our revenues and specific interest in areas of the proposed budget and reviewing budget variances above a certain threshold. And there were a couple others submitted, like looking at cash management or funds transfers. So what I did was I summarized sort of the common themes into a couple slides. So if you want to, can you pull up the slides? So these were the common themes that I saw from all the submission. Again, the financial health metrics and sustainability, the capital project estimates and variances, revenue projections and analysis, budget to actual variances above a certain threshold. So those were the common themes coming from the submissions that were received from the commissioners. So with these common themes, the next slide, please. I would recommend that if the commission, I'm going to turn it over for you all to discuss the areas of focus and what you'd like to focus on. But if these common themes are the ones, this is how we can address them. On December 18th, the Budget Review Commission meeting, we can share the financial health metrics and discuss sustainability. We had planned on doing that and sharing the financial conditions report that we've been working on. We were also planning on sharing with the commission the historical revenue trends, our major revenue trends. The January 22nd meeting, we had planned on sharing with the commission the preliminary capital improvement plan. At that meeting, we can also address specific capital project estimates and variances. For revenue projections and analysis, we planned on doing that March 9th and December 18th. We can certainly share the historical trends to help the commission understand our major revenue trends. And on March 9th, we plan to present the projected revenues for our fiscal year 26-27 budget. And then for the budget to actual, for the interest for looking at budget to actual variances, we currently produce a quarterly budget to actual variance report for all our major funds, and we basically put that on the council consent agenda every quarter. We can certainly present that to the commission and go over the major variances, and I would suggest that we can do that on December 18th for the first quarter of the year that's already gone to council. We can look at that and help the commission understand the major budget to actual variances. We can do that on the March 22nd meeting, and then, we don't have a May and August meeting identified in the budget, in the commission calendar, but we can certainly also continue looking at quarterly budget to actual reports throughout the year. And for the reviewing of the proposed budget, that is still planned for the meetings in April. So that is all my presentation, summarizing the focus areas that were submitted by the commission and some of the common themes that emerged from that, and how we as staff think that we can address those common themes based on the meetings that's approved or adopted by the commission.
Thank you, Sonia. I'd like to open this up for discussion among the commission members as to their opinions on this, or any additions or subtractions that they'd be interested in.
I have one quick clarifying question, Sonia. How many years back will the historical trends go?
We can provide up to 10 years if you want, or even further back. The financial conditions report, we have 19 years of data for you. We can pretty much provide as much as you want, probably not 30 years, anywhere from 5 to 10 years.
I think 30 years is too much.
Yes, it's a lot of data, but we do have that data, and we can certainly provide that.
Would it help if you had clarity from the commission on how many years back?
It would, but currently our financial conditions report does provide from 2007 through 2025. We already have that report put together, so you will have that data. And for the historical trend, we have 10 years, I believe.
Thank you.
Bob?
Cash management. Yeah, when I was When I was managing a multi-divisional organization, each division had its own treasury, but we had one common treasury for the corporation. And I would basically analyze everybody's cash position, sweep the accounts, put them in the central treasury so I would know what excess cash I had to invest. So I'd maximize any opportunities we had for investment of excess cash. So I was just wondering if you do the same thing, because you have multiple funds that you have balances in.
So Commissioner Terry, commissioners, the Budget Review Commission's task is not to look at operational processes, but to review the budget. But to answer your question, we do pool our cash and centralize our cash management, and we do centralize all our cash investments and management. That's how we do it. That's how you described.
Thank you.
Mark?
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm really kind of conflicted on something. I'd love to have more specificity in here, and that's the reason I summarized everyone's comment by meeting date. And one thought was, do we need to walk through in order to decide what level of specificity you want to suggest to the staff so we get what we want at each of the meetings? On the other side, the city's going through a really painful system conversion, and it's really drawn on the resources of our treasurer's personnel, and I think there's even been some attrition. So I'm really conflicted between my desire to make sure I get enough information with the importance of trying to get that thing done. So part of me would like to have us go through real quickly on your suggestions to see what can we throw out or defer, and what do we really want to provide the treasurer a little more guidance in each of the areas. Or the other side of it is, do I just let it go, let her present what she thinks is what we need, and see how that goes this year so they can get the system conversion done. So I'm not actually making, I guess I'm asking for feedback from my fellow commissioners about kind of what path we should go down. And again, if we go down the path where we just let her provide what we want, I recognize I still have the opportunity to reach out to her to say, hey, does it make sense for me to also look at this? In which case, if it does, she'll provide it to me and provide it to all of us to look at. So, and maybe Sonia, you want to respond to that first, or do you want the commissioners to respond first, Chairman?
I think we'll let commissioners respond first. Carla?
Okay.
Thank you. In a way, I think Mark kind of answered his own question, because the way you laid it out in the end, it seemed to make more sense, because staff is overburdened, not just, you know, Sonia's staff, but also the clerk's staff, et cetera. And maybe we go through as she's explained it, but if there's something that really, really stands out to you, then we ask for more specificity in it. Because part of me doesn't understand, for example, in capital projects, how we can pull one out to go into depth on it before we've actually seen the budget and seen what's coming up. So that's my take on that. And as a way to move forward, you know, with some specificity, Skylar had asked, you know, how many years are we gonna go? And Sonia said, you're doing 10 years. So the first thing we could do is, do we agree 10 years is enough, or do we need to change the number? And then this way, as we go through this discussion this morning, we can get some decisions made. That's just my take.
Skylar? Comment there.
I just had it on.
Oh, okay, all right.
Can I add something to what
Please
Commissioner
do.
Carla said? The one thought I also had was I would like to have more specificity, but maybe at the end of every meeting, if we use the future agenda item section to have a treasurer present what she plans on providing to us at the next meeting, that would then give us an opportunity to understand if that's enough or if there's something else we might want. That way, we're not doing it all right now. We're kind of doing it in step before each meeting.
Yeah, I think that makes very good sense, and I would support doing it that way. And also, Mark, listening to some of the questions you may come up with during this whole process, even though these are kind of the agenda things, obviously there will be a place on the agenda for, if you ask a question at the end of the meeting, that they'll bring that information back for the next meeting. So we can make sure we have time and room for all of that. Does anybody else have any comments on this proposed timeline or the topics that are proposed to talk about? Bob?
Yeah, it's experience, you know, the SEC requires anywhere between 3 and 5 years of data. 10 years is long, because there's so many influences that affect old data that might not be relevant, and you know, you might be spending your time looking at something that's not relevant. So I think 10 years is a long period of time. I would be satisfied with 3 to 5.
I would agree with Bob. 3 to 5 seems plenty.
Should we just say 5 years? Make it easy?
Can I have a quick question on
Yes.
that, though? Councilman Graham had asked for us to look at trends. Is 5 years enough to look at trends? If it is, then I'm fine with it.
The question was that Councilman Graham had asked us to look at trends, and Carla wants to know if a 5-year review is enough to see trends or if we need longer.
So Commissioner Carla, commissioners, I would recommend longer, because the last 5 years significantly changed the finances of the city because of the pandemic. So in 2020, when the pandemic hit, the city's revenues and expenditures went through a very significant change, and I think showing a little bit past 5 years helps you understand what has happened with the expenditures in the last 5 years and where it is going to go. So we already have the data. In fact, the presentation for the 18th is already being done for the commission, and it does include back to 2013. I do believe that the commission would, it would serve the commission well to understand the data past 5 years, to understand what has happened in the last 5 years and what might happen in the next 5.
I think that's a good point. I'd forgotten about we saw that last year about how the pandemic skewed everything. So I think maybe, we get a longer period of time and then we can kind of focus on what we need to focus on. Bob? So do we need a vote on this? Would somebody like to recommend something, Carla?
I would like to make a motion that we go with Sonia's recommendation that we do the, it's from 2013, right? Forward for the analysis, due to a variety of reasons, and also because staff already has it prepared.
Do we have a second?
I have one clarifying question. It's both revenues and expenditures?
So for the December 18th, we are looking at just revenues.
Correct, but
Yeah.
but as it relates to the commission, will we be looking both at historical trends of revenues and expenditures past
Yeah,
10
we
years?
can.
Yeah.
The expenditures might be a little more challenging, but we haven't put that together yet, but the revenues we're very comfortable with right now. So we'll work on the expenditure side for you guys.
Okay. Up to 10 years. Great.
Do I take that as a second?
Yes,
Okay.
I second.
Is there any more discussion? Otherwise, all those in favor of the proposal, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mark?
Yeah, a couple more things. One, I'd like a reaction to one of my recommendations, just for general discussion. And then the other thing is, I think we, out of fairness to Brad, ought to at least talk a little bit about his recommendation on artificial intelligence. Probably premature right now, but one of the things he mentioned is there's probably a lot of AI opportunities out there that people are using at cities in order to identify opportunities for trend analysis and savings. I doubt that our systems are ready for that right now, but in fairness to Brad, maybe that's something we ought to be talking about in the future about, or or maybe get city staff to give us their thoughts on what a future next step might be with respect to engaging a consultant or some software with respect to using AI for analysis, and maybe that's more of a next year item.
Yeah, and I think my opinion on that is it's probably a next year item. Brad and I talked a little bit about that after our last meeting, because when he first came up with that, he wasn't aware that the IT upgrade was not totally implemented yet. So I think doing that now would just put way too much burden on the city staff. But I do think it's something very worthy to look at for maybe next year.
Okay, and the other, oh, do you want to say
Commissioner Stevens, do
something?
you mind if I just weigh in on that real quick? Jeff Walter, Assistant City Manager, sitting in for Greg. Sonia, just maybe for discussion purposes, I think in the newest ERP, if I remember right, in some discussion that came up, and it came up also with our Chief Information Officer, Bianca Lochner, that there was an back-end AI component of the new system that can do some of what I think Commissioner Newman is talking about in terms of analysis. So maybe, and I agree for next year, it's a great opportunity, but just something to consider that we might already have that software component on the back end of the new system.
I think we would welcome that information if it was ready yet. I just wasn't sure that that part was up and going yet.
I don't believe that it is.
Okay, all right.
Okay, and my second thing was, I'm gonna make here's what I'm looking for this year, just so you all know for your benefit. I want to look at capital projects, and I think Commissioner Newman wants to look at it and understand that better. One of my recommendations was to have each of our council persons and mayor provide one project and have each of you select one project for us to look at. That'd be 14 projects, but then look at it, and then we're able to dig into that a little bit. Might be too much, don't know. Okay, so just park that thought for right now. But I feel like I need to understand that. I'm thinking of making a motion that we talked about earlier that might be more relevant, and I would move that we add to each future agenda item a report by city staff as to the nature of the things to be presented for our discussion and potential changes with respect to the next meeting. That just makes it a standing agenda item where we're basically going to say, here's what you're going to get at the next meeting.
So yeah, I have no objection to that. I think we usually do that as part of the future agenda items, but if you want to make that a standing part.
My idea there was that way she can provide a little more specificity as to what we're going to get in order to help us. And I'll tell you the things I'm looking for. I'm looking for that. And the other thing I'm terribly excited about is her providing the budget to actual quarterly information. I think we're going to learn a lot from that, because my understanding is she's going to give it to us at possibly a level down from the top reporting level.
Sonia, do you have any response?
Yeah, Vice Chair Stryker, Commissioner Stevens, Commissioners, yes, we can certainly do that. We can provide you, we can explain, I guess maybe some clarification. Would you like an example of reports that you're going to see? Would you like a step-by-step, what you're going to actually be presented with? Because the reports that we will present to you are the reports you saw last year. We put a proposed budget together, so you will get the same proposed budget. You will get the same spreadsheets and detailed information on all the capital projects that we provided last year. These are the standard reports that the city provides. We can provide additional detail if you would like to, but we have a whole bunch of additional detail depending on what detail a line item detail for expenditures for you that will be, it may be this thick by the time we print it out, but we can provide that as part of your review of the expenditures. We can certainly provide the line item detail on the revenues. So for example, we can show you our presentation will show you total sales tax, but we can provide you a report this thick on every single line item of every single fund of every single sales tax, if you want that. So we can certainly provide that. But, there's a lot of detail that we have. We have multiple categories of sales tax. We have multiple categories of certain expenditures, and we are putting together a level of detail that we hope that the commission would can review. So that's what we're preparing to provide. For capital projects, we're preparing to provide for you a crosswalk to show you from last year's budget what was completed, what's new, what's changed, and what's this year's budget. So we're preparing to present all of that to you so you can see. The detail you will get will be like last year's booklet, where you have every single capital project, every single cost categories included in those capital projects. And if you want additional detail, we can bring additional detail to you.
Commissioner Carla.
Yeah, I agree with the, at the end of the agenda, identifying reports, et cetera. That seems very efficient. But I will respectfully disagree with Mark about asking council members to each identify a capital project. Number one, that's two owners. I mean, you're talking about 7 capital projects, then you're talking about this group's capital projects, and yet we haven't even seen what's coming up in the budget yet as far as capital projects. So I don't understand how that would be done without making it too onerous for staff And then you also have to say, well, out of these 7 that are recommended by our nominers, or nominees, or appointers, or whatever it's called, how do we decide which ones we're actually doing? You know, because if you say, no, I'm not going to do that council person's, then you have caused an issue. I mean, wouldn't it make more sense to actually look at the budget, see what the major capital projects are, and then decide if we have concerns about any of them, and then do what Mark is suggesting? That's my opinion.
Commissioner Carla, thank you for your comments. I do want to make sure the Budget Review Commission understands that the task is to review the budget and not the merits of the project. So to that extent, I do believe that perhaps a suggestion would be having our city engineer explain to the Budget Commission how project budgets are put together, which would apply to all the projects, and for you all to understand how those project estimates are developed. I don't anticipate this commission diving into the merits of the project and why we're doing a specific capital project or the operational aspects of it, but rather the budget that is put in for that project. So we can certainly approach it that way versus selecting 7 or 14 projects or whatever, however many projects to dive into. We can approach it that way if that will help the commission understand how project budgets are put together.
That does help me, because we're not saying, is this a worthy project or not? We're looking at what are the costs, and do we have a concern about the costs? So that works for me.
And Mark, I'll get to you in just a second, but my feeling about this particular point, and it's one of the things I put down, capital projects, is they're approved by the council. If they come in on budget and on time, I don't particularly care about them. I don't think we need to really look at those. I think where the issues are the ones that are way over budget. And, you know, we talked about that last year. Anything that was over 10% over budget or over $1 million over budget were things that we might have some questions about. But if things are coming in on time and on budget, I agree with Carla. Our role is not to decide whether or not the council should have approved that, because they did it. That's their legislative ability. I think we want to look at things that are the capital projects that aren't working the way they were expected to work. Mark?
Yeah, and I'm okay. And I will echo the fact that I don't believe it's our job to decide whether a project is worthy. My focus is on whether or not the cost buildup that is being proposed is materially correct as to amount and timing. And so, for example, what I might be asking for is, okay, your budget book tells us a total contract amount, but what I don't know is what part is it low bid? Is it CMAR, which is construction manager at risk? Is it design build? Is it job order contracting? Because each one has a different susceptibility to change or a different level of estimation. So I guess what I'm hoping is I'll get educated a little bit, or, hey, what are the big pieces of what's behind the contracts we want to look at? And I will back off on my 14 thing, and we'll just decide which ones we each decide we want to look at a little bit. And maybe, I guess I'm just giving you a heads up that I would like to see enough detail to understand the risk dynamics and quality of the estimates that take place on the couple that we look at.
Sonia, if I can jump in on that one too. I just want to support our city treasurer and her comments earlier. I think we can do that, Commissioner Stevens. I think it's pretty easy to bring in Allison Timke, who's our city engineer and over transportation infrastructure, to really kind of drill down into the questions that you have specifically related to CMAR, JOC, any of those low bids. So I think we can do that without picking out 14 different projects. We can drill down into that when we get into capital projects.
And Mark, I think some of that will also show up in the quarterly budget to actual reports. So I think we'll cover most of the things that you're interested in, because I'm interested in a lot of those things too. So I think that'll get covered.
And just to expand on that, the thing you and I looked at last year that Scott put together for us that kind of reported the variance things, I mean, that was just a basic listing of, okay, which one do you want to know more about? So that's probably a good starting point.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments on the 4 common themes that we have down here? If we're in agreement on those? The chair
Oh,
would.
wait, I had a motion on the table, right, that we were going to have her report the nature of what was going to be presented at each following meeting?
Yes.
Is there a second on that, or is that going to die for lack of a second?
Do we have a second for that?
Could you restate what you're actually motioning, please?
Yeah, my motion was that there be a future agenda item discussed with staff presenting in reasonable specificity what is to be provided at the upcoming meeting based on the topics that have been agreed to.
Kind of a preview of coming attractions?
That's basically what it is. And that way it gives us a chance to say, well, wait, will that be this many years, or will that be at this level, or, and that way, hopefully it'll save some time and get us what we need. And I do really respect her opinion on giving us what would be meaningful, and that might help there. And Sonia, I guess I would encourage you when you make presentations to try to feel free to tell us what might be questionable as to value to us absorbing and what would be the most meaningful.
So Mark has a motion. Carla, you look quizzical.
I'm still a little tiny bit confused, number one, as to whether or not we have to have a motion on it. My only concern is, because I agree, if we're going to have a future agenda item, it shouldn't be something that's amorphous. But I just don't want us at the end of the meeting, under future agenda items, spending a half hour on each one, having staff have to walk through and say, I'll provide this, 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 and this, and then be questioned about whether or not that's enough. That's my concern.
Okay, and my observation to that would just be that if we actually had some slides or whatever with her saying, here's the kind of things you're going to see, it gives us an opportunity to get our head around and get her to prepare, here's what I'm going to show you, so that we are not surprised and we get something that's meaningful to us.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Vice Chair and members of the commission, I think actually Commissioner Stevens' idea is an excellent idea. I think it will save time. I do recognize Carla's concern. So I think there's a simple solution to that, is set a time frame for that item to limit it, so it doesn't become basically a separate meeting in advance of the other meeting. But I think it would ultimately be very helpful as long as it's properly agendized, because you'll have to properly agendize it for the discussion. So you'll save time at your future meeting, because you won't be asking, what about this? Because you can let Ms. Andrews know ahead of time and they'll be prepared. So, but if you're concerned that, it causes the meeting to go on for another hour or 2 hours or what have you, just set a time frame for it and stick to that time frame.
I mean, all you're asking to do is just have a conversation about what we want to talk about next time.
With just a little bit of specificity.
With specificity.
Just a little bit of specificity,
And
so we know.
and a
what
time
we're missing.
constraint.
Yeah, and I'm fine with the time constraint.
Fine.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And actually, the city treasurer and I had talked about, for future agenda items of all of our agenda items, having a time frame attached to them, so that these meetings don't run longer than they're supposed to. So if that's okay with you, Mark, I mean, that.
Yeah, and you can put my name at the end of that comment.
Yeah, it looks like we're narrowing down, but I would like to ask Sonia, what are you comfortable with? I know you're comfortable with the concept, but as far as, the amount of detail we're going to go into for each future agenda item, and then we can actually set a time constraint and make a friendly amendment to his motion.
Thank you, Carla, Commissioner Carla. I feel that it is absolutely fine if you would like us to explain to you what you will be seeing at the next meeting. However, that said, I think it would be easiest if your request is limited to what we can provide without a huge amount of effort. So just unfortunately, because we're still in the process of implementing a new ERP system, our new ERP system does not have in and of itself robust reporting capabilities. We are looking at a third-party vendor to help us provide that reporting. So the new system has limited reporting capabilities right now, even though the data is in our system. So I just want to, caution the commission that if you ask for specific data that we're unable to provide or unable to generate without a huge amount of effort, I will have to let you know that. We will provide as best we can what we feel is an appropriate level for the commission to review the budget this year. But if you're looking for a lot of different details that it's difficult for us to provide, then that might be a challenge for us.
Well, if Mark will accept a friendly amendment that the specificity on each future agenda item will be limited to what staff can provide, and the discussion will take no more than 5 minutes for each item?
Oh, for each item?
For each item. For each item. If you want to change it, change it. I'm just trying to move this forward.
I was looking for 15, but
Okay, 10 minutes per, no more than
for the
10
entire
minutes per each item.
does that include the presentation and our discussion?
But staff is not doing a full presentation.
No, but she's
They-
telling us what we're going to see.
Right.
A 5-minute, then a 5-minute presentation with no more than a 10-minute discussion afterwards.
Can I clarify? So you're saying that for every meeting under the future agenda item, you would like a staff presentation on what we are bringing you, and you would like to spend 5 or 10 minutes discussing if that is sufficient?
What you're going to bring us at the next meeting. So at the next meeting that's coming up, you are going to give us the sustainability reporting and some revenue stuff. At the end of that meeting, you're then going to say, you take a few minutes and talk about, here's the preliminary capital improvement plan information we're expecting to provide to you at the next meeting. It's going to be this book that is similar to what you've seen before. We're also going to provide you a list of the exception contracts approved that were 10% and $1 million by council, and that's what we're expecting to present to you. And then we would say, okay, well, could you also do this? Could you also do that? To which you would then say, man, I don't know that our systems are good for that, in which case we'd say, okay, we don't need that. And then on some others, you might say, let me see if I can do that quickly, and if I can, we'll do that for you, and we'll say, okay. I really think it's important that we be careful with our staff this year. Even if we can't be as effective this year in carrying out our review, we need to get the system done. So I do want to defer to your judgment on a lot of this stuff this year.
I'll throw an alternate motion out there,
Well, let's hear it.
okay? That for each upcoming meeting, under future agenda items, staff will give a brief presentation on what will be included in that future agenda item, and there will be brief discussion and questions and possible requests about the future agenda item, and each agenda item in total take no more than 10 minutes, please.
Bob?
Practice I always followed for board meetings was the 80-20 rule. I would get 20% of the items that made up 80% of the importance or monetization and focus them on what's really important. So I don't know that this broad brush is going to serve any purpose, but I believe it's your discretion to use that 80-20 rule.
And like you, I'm a big believer in the 80-20 rule. I think that's been proven time and time again. Carla has a motion on the table.
I'm gonna second her motion with the understanding that my mic doesn't get cut off at 10 minutes. I'll second her motion as is.
Okay. All right. 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 The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I think we're pretty much done for the day unless somebody else has anything they want to bring up. Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn. Bob makes the motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Otherwise, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.
Maybe this year love will appear deeper than ever before.